Hello and welcome to our Tag1 Team Talk on Share My Lesson with Kelly Booz, the Director of Share My Lesson and e-learning at the American Federation of Teachers. My name is Michael Meyers. I'm the Managing Director at Tag1 Consulting, and I'm joined today by Peta Hoyes, Tag1's Chief Operating Officer. If you missed part 1 and 2, the intro and background to Share My Lesson and the success story of, wrangling, all this success and how you get on top of it and grow your site, check out part 2. In this segment, part 3, we're going to be talking about building on all of that success that AFT and Kelly and her team have seen to date. So Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about, what are your goals at this point? You've created the largest online, lesson repository. You're serving so many different constituencies, maybe even more than you ever thought, especially in, the pandemic world. What, where do you go from here? What are your business challenges?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me back. So, we constantly want to make sure that our site is relevant and that our members, and particularly now that we've got a lot more members who've joined us over the course of the last year, can find their content easily and have a good, user experience. So, I think we mentioned this in the previous session, but on the search and making sure that, we're tweaking the search. So if I search for something on the Constitution, the right resources are showing up and, relevant resources are showing up, and making sure that the search is easy to navigate. And I can really narrow it down based on, the grade and subject that I teach. It sometimes can be daunting to use our search and all of a sudden 4,000 resources pop up because we've got that much content. So, really trying to serve out the right resources and narrowing it down. On top of that, our collections have always been a key central point of our site. Because we have so many resources, we spend a lot of time finding the good content and curating those resources into relevant collections. So whether it's something for, right now we're recording this in February. So whether it's something for Black History Month, or Women's History Month, or, a very current event like January 6th, the Capitol Hill insurrection, we have educators that are looking for content to teach. And if it's something that is a breaking news stuff, such as the January 6th incident, folks, our educators are looking at like, okay, this is happening. How do I deal with this? And how do I teach this the next day with my students? So, with our great content, we're able to really put those collections together. So what we want to also make sure is that in addition to search, it's easy to find those relevant resources especially in those hot topic areas. And, a couple other things too, is just also we want to make a stronger case. So when people come to Share My Lesson, they also know that this is an American Federation of Teachers owned site. So trying to make that a better connection with the AFT. And then finally, we do lots of webinars. I've certainly mentioned this in previous recordings that, we do virtual conferences but now in addition to our virtual conference that we do webinars throughout the year, and they're big events, they're well attended. And we want to make sure that our members can find what's coming up and what's relevant, whether it's, just a resource on a civic holiday that's coming up, or, a very important webinar that we're doing on a content, related to either, maybe it's Capitol Hill or reading is fundamental or something like that.
So Kelly's kind of talking about, from the end user perspective, how do you get a user the shortest path to the most relevant thing for them in that moment, whatever they need based on who they are, right? Or how they're searching for stuff. And that's an enormous aspect of what we're sort of looking at and investigating and seeing if we've got the shortest paths to that information from the ways that she's describing just now. But there are also lots of other improvements to the technology itself that we're making. And we're doing a huge upgrade actually to Drupal 9 from Drupal 7, which is a pretty big shift actually for them. But the reason why we're doing it, and these are also hit some of the business goals, is that we have to make the site more accessible. That opens us up to an even broader audience, ideally, and so that it meets, standards. We've got also we're trying to make the site have better mobile support, right? And Drupal 8.9, that it was built with that in mind, right? And one of the other huge improvements we're going to see is media handling being improved between 7 and 8. For a site that has, again, hundreds of thousands of lessons, we want to embed more of those assets that aren't just things like Excel documents and Word docs or handouts. They're going to be video embeds and a host of other things that we want to make more readily visible when you even come and look at a lesson itself, which is some of the most atomic content on the site. But ultimately, the admin interfaces for Drupal 8 and 9 are orders better than Drupal 7. And for a site this large with this many users, it was imperative for us to also improve easier ways for the staff that manages the site to do the tasks they have to do on a daily basis to manage all of that stuff. But ultimately, this is the last big, massive upgrade they're going to have to do.
Oh, you say.
But ultimately, everything from here on out should be, once we get past this big 8.9 update, should be pretty incremental and backward compatible. So there'll be much smaller incremental shifts that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of exciting too, because Drupal 7 is end of lifing, and unfortunately, at least that timeline of the end of life was pushed back a little bit because it's given us a little more wiggle room on the site redesign and upgrade. But it really allows us to pause and take some time to reflect on what works, where the pain points are, what changes we can make, whether it's more of a front end redesign and theming, but also all the great stuff that I get to discover soon on the I'm more familiar with Drupal 8, but whatever is coming on the Drupal 9 side of things. So that is exciting because it has allowed us to do some user interviews from a variety of different constituencies and members that use our site for different reasons to get their feedback in terms of how do we make this even better.
Right. And just hitting sweet spots for those users that necessarily aren't, that there's stuff there, but they didn't know there was stuff there for them necessarily. That's a huge change.
Yeah, we've got great content, but they didn't know it was there. So we got to figure out how to make sure that they can find that great content.
So the tools and technology to help an ever increasing user base find what they're looking for to help your teams internally administer and run this site, sort of like the back office of the system, some underlying technology improvements. What about new audiences? One of the things we talked about earlier in one of the previous segments is, parents are coming to this, new content creators coming to this, professional development for teachers. This has, it's awesome to see how this has expanded beyond its mission and is serving so much value to all these different people. Do you want to continue growing into new audiences? How do you foresee, the future of this platform?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think one of the, mentioned earlier of how do we make a stronger connection with the American Federation of Teachers? I mean, so we've already, one thing that we haven't talked about on previous episodes is that another really valuable part of the site is our resources for our AFT members. Now, again, Share My Lessons open to everybody, whether you're an AFT or non-AFT member, but we've got these sections that are affiliates. So they're essentially like local, your local union within your school district, local affiliate pages or state affiliate pages, where a local affiliate or a state affiliate may approach us frequently and say, hey, I really want to have a private community or an open community, and I need resources for my members that are related to this particular standard or this particular evaluation system or this particular content area. And so our affiliate lead will work with them to create these content areas and put them on the site. So one of the things with the site design, I mean, we're going to continue to build on those affiliates, but just making those resources for affiliates and AFT members for somebody to come to their site and say, oh gosh, this is for me. I'm a teacher. This is for me. Or, oh, my local union has this content. Or I'm a support staff, and, I can find these are all constituencies of the AFT. So, sharing and finding this content in their particular area is important to us.
You guys, have such an amazing and important mission. It's great that you have that relationship with the users of this system. You can really listen to them, have that relationship, build it out based on their needs. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Kelly, Peta, thank you both for joining us. Really appreciate it. Again, if you haven't checked out segment 1, the intro and background, and segment 2, all of the amazing rapid growth to success, please check them out. We'll put them in the show notes below, along with all the other links and whatnot that we mentioned. If you like this talk, please remember to upvote, subscribe, and share it with everybody you know. Check out past Tag1 Team Talks at tag1.com/tagteamtalks. As always, we'd love your feedback and input. We'd love to hear, your thoughts on today's show, ideas on future shows. You can reach us at tagteamtalks@tag1consulting.com. And again, a huge thank you, Kelly, for joining us, Peta as well. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We'll see everybody soon. Take care.
Cheers.
Thank you.